This is a Mark IV Toyota Supra. So these cars have a huge cult following all over the world. And in this video, I'm going to tell you exactly what makes this car so special, because this is the car that the new Mark V Supra has to live up to. And it certainly has its work cut out. So in this video, I'm obviously going to take it for a spin. There it is, there's the second turbo. I'm going to time it from 0 to 60, floor the throttle, build up the revs, and off we go, bit of spin. I'm going to compare the automatic to this manual, and I'm also going to have a go in one that's been tuned to 1,000 horsepower. Christ, hopefully I won't kill myself. Let's start off talking about this car's engine, because it's one of the things that makes it so popular. It's called a 2JZ. It's a 3 litre straight six with 2 turbos. There's one smaller turbo which pretty much kicks in straight away, then one larger one that boosts up around 4,000 RPM, and that's when the car really takes off. So in stock form, this engine produces 326 horsepower. However, they're easily tunable to 800 horsepower without having to change any of the engine internals at all. Now, it's this tunability that has made this car so popular, especially recently. So this car behind me is worth around £35,000, but 3 years ago, it was only worth about half that. If this car was the automatic version rather than this 6-speed manual, it'd be worth about £10,000 less. There's 2 reasons for that. So they're supposedly not quite so good to drive, and I'll find out about that later. But also you can't tune them so much. So you can only take them to about 550 horsepower, because if you take it over that, then the gearbox will just explode. Obviously this car is rear wheel drive, and to maximise traction it's fitted as standard with the torque sensing limited slip differential. So that differential will send power to the wheel with the most grip to help slingshot the car out of corners. Now you might notice this one has a rather large exhaust pipe, and so I'm going to test it, but the normal CarWow stick of truth just wouldn't do this justice. So I now have the CarWow log of truth, so that's definitely not fake, though it's also definitely not the original exhaust, though I don't think many Supras still have their original exhausts. The inside of this car is very, very unique. You feel like you're sat in the cockpit of a fighter jet. Kind of reminds me of a Saab in that way. I do like it though, and everything's dead simple and clear to use. There's dials for everything, good old-fashioned buttons for things as well, and a digital clock. Though you do actually have a digital clock rather like that in quite a few modern Toyotas as well. I like these vents, continue the airplane theme. It's kind of cool really. And the dials, super easy to read. Rev counter in the middle, speed onto the left, going all the way up to 180 miles an hour. And this has to be the biggest fuel and temperature gauge I've ever seen on any car. I mean, look at it, it's massive. No digital displays here. It's all very analog. Speaking of which, check out the infotainment system. Let's just say it's not as good as BMW's iDrive. In fact, that's paying it a compliment. It's not even an infotainment system, is it? It's a cassette player. I'm going to turn it on. That is the sound of the aerial going up. It feels very old. This is very period as well. An ashtray, though it's not used to hold cigarette ash. Instead, various screws that have come out of the car. That's how it is when you own a classic car. Under here, you've got some storage, and there's no real door bins, just the door handle, which you can kind of rest your arm in. I like this, look, the seats are heated. It's not bad for the 1990s. Now this is a bit weird, the way you adjust the height of the steering wheel. You think it's electric, but it's not. You just pop that up, and then it's actually on a spring. Now I just want to check this thing out though. So this is a big, butch, powerful car, but what is the horn like? Yeah, not so tough. Fortunately, this huge wing does compensate for that puny horn, and it does actually provide some downforce apparently, and it's tough, so you can use it to help open the boot. Look, that's absolutely fine, nothing to worry about. The boot itself is more of a worry. Look how shallow that is. It looks like it's going to be quite big, but yeah, you're not going to be able to fit much in that at all. And look, you can fold down the rear seat to make it a little bit bigger. You don't buy one of these for its practicality though, do you? However, this car is a 4-seater, so you can give people a lift in the back if you absolutely have to. So this seat is in my usual driving position, and I'm rather cramped. Problem with leg room and headroom. In fact, in these areas, it's no better than a Porsche 911. However, at least it has some sumptuous soft seats, so your bum is comfy. The Mark IV Supra was built between 1993 and 2002, and the car was facelifted in 1997, and it got some slightly different bumpers. Also, the manual had a new gearbox, whereas the auto got Tiptronic. The steering wheel was slightly different as well, and so were the instruments. And finally, the engine was fitted with variable valve timing for more low-down pulling power. However, the cars were never imported to the UK, so the last officially imported UK car was in 1996. Now, if you're thinking about buying one of these old Mark IV Supras, there's something you need to think about. Do you want an official UK car or a Japanese import? The UK cars are usually about £5,000 more because only 600 were imported to the UK, of which only 200 were manuals. And there are a few features that are different on the UK cars, and I'll point them out now. Now, all Supras have these vents at the back to help feed air and to cool the rear brakes. But on the ones on UK cars on the right hand side, if you look inside, you'll see a little oil cooler which cools the oil for the rear differential, because the UK cars have a slightly larger diff than the Japanese ones and they just need a bit of cooling. Don't know why the UK cars have the different diff or why it needs cooling, just is. One of the best ways to identify a UK car are these, the headlamp washers, which kind of look like sort of tusks. They are a bit ugly, but they're a legal requirement because if a headlight is over a certain brightness, then you have to have these in this country by law. Japanese didn't have to have those. Also, the headlamps themselves in the UK made out of glass. The Japanese ones are plastic. You can easily tell if you're looking at a Japanese or a UK car by just checking out the tail lights, because on UK cars the arrangement goes yellow, red, white, red. In Japanese, for some reason, it goes yellow, red, red, white. Also, UK cars have a Toyota badge here above the left side tail light, whereas Japanese ones don't. Also, you won't get a Japanese car with cream leather interior, nor a passenger airbag. That's actually another glove box on Japanese cars, nor over here, fog light. And finally, the UK car, for some reason, has the outside temperature on the digital clock, whereas Japanese cars don't. Another good way to identify a UK car is this, the bonnet scoop, which helps feed air into the engine to cool it, though some Japanese cars do have these fitted retrospectively. But one way to find out whether it's original or not is to look underneath and see if you can find the scoop which actually attaches that to cool the 6th cylinder. Not that it necessarily needs it, it's just a precaution. In fact, Toyota over-engineered the cars for the UK market compared to the Japanese market, which is a bit odd because usually it's the other way around. Don't know why Toyota did it, but they have. Cars officially imported into the UK also came with larger 4-piston caliper brakes at the front and 2-piston ones at the rear. The Japanese cars, as standard, had 2 pot at the front and 1 pot at the rear, though you could upgrade the top spec ones to have this setup. And this setup also required larger wheels, so 17-inch alloys as standard in the UK. UK cars also, as standard, have a drop-down front spoiler, which actually lowers at 60 miles an hour. You can actually operate it while it's stationary as well to clean it off, or to check whether the car is actually a UK model. Though, be warned, a few Japanese cars have had this fitted as an option, but it's quite rare. So, this is my first time ever driving a Mark IV Toyota Supra. And the first thing I've noticed is the long bonnet. So you know that you've got a big engine under there. So let's give it a try. I'm just going to slow down. I'm in 2nd gear. And I'm going to roll on the power. So at 2,000 RPM, first turbo's in, 4,000, oh, there it is, there's the 2nd turbo. It doesn't half pick up. And the interesting thing is when you're just cruising along and then you're up in 4th and you put your foot down, when that 2nd turbo is spooled, it just pulls and pulls, and you're at 100 so quick. Now, wouldn't people love these? That engine is lovely. It really is lovely. Gearbox though, it's quite chunky and notchy, but it's not bad. And the clutch, that's nice and light. I quite like the gearbox, but the highlight is the engine. I hope the one in the new cars is good, though obviously it's actually a BMW engine, not a Toyota one. Now you might be wondering what the heck that warning light is for on the dash. Well, it's because the diff needs its oil changing, and so it's throwing up an error, but it's nothing major. Well, according to the guy who's lent me this car anyway. This car here is a Japanese imported Supra, and it's easily identifiable as such because it is the aero top, which means you can remove the centre part of its roof for some wind in the hair action. It's a bit of a palaver to do that, as I'll illustrate now. First of all, you need to get a tool out of the glove box. Then you have to undo 5 screws. Next, you need to prepare the boot to accept the roof, which means removing the load cover. And I like these straps, look at that, that's so cool the way they've designed this load cover. It's a nice little feature, that. Then carefully lift up the roof. Then even more carefully slide the roof into its holders in the boot. Oh, it's not easy.
6.5 hours later.
There we go. And then push it down to lock it into place and hope that it doesn't start raining like it seems to be now, because then you're gonna have to do it all in reverse. There's something else to point out on this car. You see, this Japanese import is the less sought after automatic. And there's a few interesting features of the gearbox itself. So of course you can put it into a sort of manual mode, so you can hold it in first, second or third gear. Also on the side there's a little button to disengage the overdrive, so it'll never go up into fourth gear, it'll just go into third and stay there, so you can rev it out if you want to. And then there's this. When you put the car into reverse, the automatic makes this noise. Like you're in a truck. So then, does this automatic feel different to drive? Well, yes, absolutely. But firstly, because it's a different body style, this Targa roof really does just allow you to hear the exhaust more, though this car is fitted with a slightly louder exhaust than the UK car I just drove. Another thing that I could notice is the fact that it's fitted with an intercooler with a blow-off valve, so you get whistling whenever you lift off. I quite like that. Another thing I notice is the shake of the body. Obviously you lost some rigidity by chopping off part of the roof, and so when you go over bumps you feel the whole car shake just a little bit more. The auto gearbox itself, for just driving every day, this is better. So when people bought these, you can see why they bought more of the autos into the country than the manuals, because it suits the car better. It's a GT rather than an out-and-out sports car, and for cruising it works. There's also another benefit of the auto. So manual cars were supposed to be able to do 0 to 60 in 4.9 seconds, whereas it's 5.1 seconds for the auto. However, in reality, most people are actually going to be quicker in the auto because it's just easier to launch. The manual, you need lots of driver skill, which I don't have, and also I don't want to launch an old manual car because I could knacker the clutch. But I want to see how quick this auto is, so I've got my specialist timing gear here. I'm just going to launch it, and it's so easy. Look, you just hold it on the brake, throw the throttle, build up the revs, and off we go. Bit of spin, we're off. Yes! And lo and behold, for I got bang on the number it's supposed to do. Even after all these years, that is impressive, and I'm pretty sure I've got nowhere near that in the manual. One of the reasons people like the Mark IV Super is because they're so easy to tune, and here I have a heavily modified car. In fact, there's been so much done to it, there's a plaque which actually details it all. The best place to start is the engine bay because it's almost completely unrecognisable. This engine has actually been rebuilt, all its internals are new, and it now has 3.4 litres. But the thing that gives the power is this. There is a turbocharger the size of a dinner plate. I mean, it's absolutely massive. What you get is 1,000 horsepower. Now, if you're going to put 1,000 horsepower through just the rear wheels, you're probably going to struggle for traction. So what you need is some fat-ass tyres like these. Because you have a very deep sidewall and it's quite soft, the tyre flexes a lot more than a normal tyre, so it actually increases its contact patch when you accelerate, which gives you more grip. Now, when you've got so much power, you've also got to worry about traction at higher speeds, and that's why this car is fitted with this huge rear wing to provide lots of downforce to keep that back end squished into the tarmac. You've probably noticed some other modifications of this car's bodywork as well. For instance, the actual track front and back has been widened, so you've got widened wheel arches, and there's carbon fibre bits such as these side skirts, and of course the front splitter, and upgraded wheels as well. Plus, the brakes are huge. You've got 8-pot calipers, but then I suppose if you're running 1,000 horsepower, you need a lot of stopping power too. As you can see, the interior is anything but standard and rather red. It's quite insane actually. All the panels are new on the dash, the dials are new as well, and you've got carbon fibre here, and the speedo now goes up to 220 miles an hour. You've also got oil pressure gauge there, fuel pressure gauge there, and these are right in your direct eye line, which is important because if there's anything wrong in the engine, it'll actually be highlighted by these two. There's a little computer here as well which can control different maps for the engine, so you can have a super powerful mode when you're having all your 1,000 horsepower, or you can go into valet mode so that if you need someone to park your car, they only have about 200 horsepower, which is much safer. And there's even a mode which actually is for pops and bangs. So then, can you guess what all these modifications cost? Well, let me tell you, the car itself, stock, cost £10,000 when it was purchased about 4 years ago. The modifications, they totaled £70,000. Right, and I'm going to drive this tuned Supra, and I must say I'm a little bit nervous because it is the most powerful car I will ever have driven. Right, here we go. So the clutch, oh, it's a little bit stiffer than the standard cars because it's got 3 plates and it's made out of carbon fibre to cope with the 1,100 Newton meters of torque this thing produces. Now, lower down in the rev range, it's fine. Wait a minute, just poot all round in this. Yeah, it's not frightening. Cope with this, no problem at all. However, I want to show you the dyno graph. Now, can you see that massive cliff of torque when it comes on boost at around 4,000 RPM. So I'm staying below 4,000 RPM right now, and at some point I'm going to have to venture over it. And it's making me a little bit frightened. Oh, Christ. Hell. That is insane. It just, I don't know, like someone's just let off a bomb back there. Jesus Christ. Let's try it in second. Dare I? It's picking up now. So I'm just looking at my cameraman Jack because he's as frightened as me. It doesn't suddenly just drop in, but you can feel it building and then it's just on it. But now I've done it, I want another go. Here it comes. Well, I managed to escape from the white car alive, although when I see the expense receipts, I may have a heart attack. But yeah, what an exciting day. I've never driven a Supra before, but sort of fallen in love with them. And it's amazing that you can tune them to 1,000 horsepower and more. So will the new car live up to that? I don't know, I'm going to find out, so I'm about to drive it. What do you reckon? Let me know in the comments below.